Welcome back to the Socialist Report. This is the fourth video for December the 29th, 2022. We're going to try to start doing 5 videos a day, uploaded the morning after I record these, because this is the night before this is going to be uploaded. Our times are planned to be 8, 8:15, 8:30, 8:45, and 9 a.m. So let's just get right into this. We got this article from People's Dispatch, a call to the people. If capitalism is to be fought, it has to be fought in the DRC. The mineral-rich eastern provinces of the DRC have been repeatedly invaded and attacked by proxy forces known to be backed by Rwanda and Uganda, both key allies of U.S. interests in the region. This is from Tanya Priya Singh. This is a second of 2 stories on the ongoing crisis in the eastern provinces of the DRC. Part 1 can be read here. So I guess we'll read part 1 first. After 2 decades of war, the Congolese people are saying enough is enough. M23 and war making in the Congo. People's Dispatch spoke to Congolese activist and researcher Kambale Musavuli about the latest offensive of the M23 rebel group in the eastern part of the DRC and the broader history of proxy warfare in the region, by Tanya Priya Singh. On Monday, December the 12th, a meeting was held between the M23 rebel group, the Congolese Armed Forces, the commander of the Joint East Africa Committee Force, and the Joint Expanded Verification Mechanism, the Ad Hoc Verification Mechanism, and the UN Peacekeeping Force, MONUSCO, in Kimbua in the Nyiragongo territory in the North Kivu province located in the eastern part of the DRC. Sorry if I do not pronounce some of these names right. A lot of these names I haven't heard of because, once again, I'm American. I'm not taught 3/4 of stuff about the rest of the world, and what I am taught, or was taught, in school at least, has been largely whitewashed and mostly lied about. So the meeting was held in the wake of reports of fighting between M23 and the FARDC, just days after the rebel group had pledged to maintain a ceasefire in the mineral-rich region. M23 is widely acknowledged to be a proxy force of neighboring Rwanda. On Tuesday, December 6th, M23 announced that it was ready to start disengagement and withdrawal from occupied territory, and that it supported regional efforts to bring long-lasting peace to the DRC. The statement was issued following the conclusion of the third inter-Congolese dialogue under the aegis of the East African Committee bloc that was held in Nairobi and facilitated by former Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta. Approximately 50 armed groups were represented at the meeting in Nairobi, excluding M23. The dialogue had been convened on November 28th with leaders from Kenya, Burundi, Congo, Rwanda, and Uganda also in attendance. It followed a separate dialogue process held in Angola earlier in November, which yielded a ceasefire agreement that was to take effect from November 25th. This would be followed by M23's withdrawal from the areas it had seized, including Buganda, Kiwanja, and Rutshira. While M23 was not part of the talks, the group had stated that it would accept the ceasefire while reserving the full right to defend itself. It had also called for a direct dialogue with the government of the DRC, which it reiterated in its December 6th statement. The DRC government has rejected this demand, classifying the rebel force a terrorist group. Lieutenant Colonel Gualami Njikaika Congo, an army spokesperson for the province, stated later that the meeting on December 12th had been requested by the rebels to seek assurances that they would not be attacked by the FARDC if they withdrew from the occupied areas. However, Lieutenant General Constant Ndima Kongba, the governor of North Kivu, emphasized that the meeting was not a negotiation but was held to verify the effectiveness of the resolutions under the Angola and Nairobi peace processes. On December the 1st, the Congolese army had accused M23 and allied groups of killing 50 civilians on November 29th in Kishishi, located in Rutshiro territory, 70 kilometers north of the city of Goma. On December the 5th, the government updated the death toll to 300, including at least 17 children. M23 rejected these allegations, claiming that just 8 people had been killed by stray bullets. However, the massacres were corroborated by MONUSCO and the Joint Human Rights Office on December the 7th. Based on a preliminary investigation, reports stated that at least 131 civilians had been killed in the villages of Kishishi and Bambo between November 29th and the 30th. The victims were arbitrarily executed and bullets or bladed weapons, read the document. It added that at least 22 women and 5 girls had been raped, and that the violence was carried out as part of a campaign of murders, rapes, kidnapping, and looting against 2 villages in the Rutshiro territory in retaliation for clashes between M23 and the Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Rwanda and armed groups Mau Mau, Mesmabi, and Nyetra Coalition of Movements for Change. The report added that M23 forces had also buried the bodies of those killed in what may be an attempt to destroy evidence. The massacres in Rwanda are not isolated incidents, but instead are the latest in a long series of atrocities committed in the DRC for almost 30 years, estimated to have killed 6 million Congolese people. While M23 became prominent following the capture of Goma in 2012 and again with the resumption of its latest offensive in March, it is impossible to trace the group's trajectory throughout the preceding decades and with it the enduring imperialist interests fueling the violence in the Congo. Decades of proxy warfare. The DRC was invaded by its neighbors Rwanda and Uganda in 1996 and 1998. While both countries officially withdrew from the country following the signing of bilateral accords in 2002, they continued to support proxy rebel militia groups, explained Kambili Muswavali, a Congolese researcher and activist, in an interview with People's Dispatch. M23 is an acronym of the March 23 movement, formed by soldiers within the Congolese army who were members of a former rebel group, the National Congress for the Defense of the People. They accused the government of refusing to honor a peace agreement signed on March 23, 2009, which had led to the CNDP's integration into the FRDC. In 2012, these former CNDP soldiers rebelled against the government, forming M23. However, Musavali points out that the claims regarding a peace agreement were false. The reason they left was that one of their commanders, Bosco Ntaganda, was threatened with arrest. The International Criminal Court had issued 2 warrants for his arrest in 2006 and 2012 on charges of war crimes and crimes against humanity. It was under his command that CNDP troops massacred an estimated 150 people in the town of Kiwanja in North Kivu in 2008. Following the presidential election in 2011, there was pressure on the Congolese government to turn Ntaganda in. Musavali added, He finally surrendered in 2013 and was convicted and sentenced by the ICC in 2019. A few months after it was formed, the M23 rebel group captured Goma in November 2012. However, the occupation was short-lived, and by December the group had withdrawn. Around 750,000 Congolese people were displaced by the fighting that year. At the time, it became clear to the international community that Rwanda was supporting a rebel force in the Congo. You had the US and European countries putting pressure on Rwanda, following which it wound down its support. Congolese forces had also been supported by troops from countries in the Southern African Development Community, particularly South Africa and Tanzania, working alongside UN forces. While the M23 would re-emerge 10 years later, its history was not limited to the CNDP. The CNDP's predecessor was the Congolese Rally for Democracy, a rebel group backed by Rwanda that waged a war in the Congo between 1998 till 2002, when a peace accord was signed, following which the RCD joined the Congolese army, Museveni said. The RCD itself was preceded by the AFDL, the Alliance of Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Congo, Zaire, a Rwandan-backed force which invaded the DRC in 1996 to topple the regime of Mobutu Sese Seko. Subsequently, AFDL leader Laurent Desire Kabila was brought to power. However, Museveni adds disagreement soon grew between the AFDL and the new Congolese government, mainly around issues related to the exploitation of natural resources and sub-political lines. A year into power, Kabila ordered the removal of all foreign troops from the country. Within the next few months, the RCD was formed, Museveni said. What is also of particular note throughout the history is the repeated attempt through various peace accords to integrate these rebel forces in the Congolese army. This was never the will of the Congolese people. It has been imposed, Museveni explained. Since 1996, there have been numerous peace negotiation processes, usually led by Western countries. Following the 2002 peace agreement, we had 4 vice presidents and 1 president. This was because of the international community, specifically former U.S. Ambassador William Swain. When the Congolese went for the peace negotiations to South Africa, the civil society groups had stressed that they did not want formal rebels to have any position in government during the transition period. Swain swayed the discussion given that the U.S. has always influenced peace negotiations of the DRC, and came up with a formula which saw 4 warlords as vice presidents of the country. The Congolese parliament has now taken a firm stance against any such possibility by declaring M23 a terrorist group and prohibiting its integration into the FARDC. Foreign interference and resource theft. U.S. interference in the DRC has been apparent since its independence. Museveni added in the assassination of Patrice Lumumba, support given to the brutal regime of Mobutu Sese Seko, the invasions of the 1990s and the subsequent peace talks and changes to the country's constitution in 2006 to allow Joseph Kabila to contest the election. In 2011, the U.S. was one of the first countries to recognize the results of the rigged elections. Analysis of the time showed that in doing so, the U.S. was betting on stability rather than democracy, Museveni said. 3 months later, the M23 uprising began. It is the same rebel force over 20 years with the same soldiers and the same commanders to serve the interests of Rwanda, which itself is a strong U.S. ally in this so-called war on terror. And what are Rwanda's interests in the Congo, its land and its resources, he added. As such, the conflict in the DRC must not be seen as fighting between a rebel group and the Congolese government. This was reiterated by activist and writer Claude Gatabuk. This is not an ordinary rebellion. It is an invasion of Congo by Rwanda and Uganda. Even though Kigali has repeatedly denied backing M23, evidence confirming the allegation has been presented repeatedly, most recently in a report by a UN group of experts in August. The report shows that the Rwandan Defense Force had been supporting M23 since November 2021 and engaging in military operations against Congolese armed forces, armed groups, and FARDC positions, unilaterally or with M23. In May, the Congolese army had also captured 2 Rwandan soldiers in its territory. Musevuli added that this kind of foreign backing was also apparent in the fact that the M23 had access to extremely sophisticated weapons and equipment. This link becomes more explicit in the context of the ceasefire negotiations. In order for M23 to accept the ceasefire, Uhuru Kenyatta first had to call the Rwandan President Paul Kagame. Not only that, on December 5th, the U.S. State Department issued a press communique stating that Secretary of State Antony Blinken had spoken to President Kagame, basically asking Rwanda to stop interfering in the DRC. What happened the next day, the M23 put out a statement saying that they were no longer fighting. Musevuli highlighted. Rwanda has justified its invasions of the DRC under the pretext of fighting in democratic forces for the liberation of Rwanda, a Hutu rebel group in the DRC accused of committing the genocide in Rwanda in 1994. But Rwanda is not going after the FDLR. It is going after the mines. How are Congo's minerals finding their way into Kigali? Similarly, Musevuli stated Uganda had created a pretext to invade the Congo and exploit its resources, the Allied Democratic Forces. Uganda has claimed that the ADF are jihadists who are seeking to topple the government. What we do know is that the ADF are Ugandans who have been fighting the Museveni regime since 1986. A bogus connection has been created between the ADF and ISIS to bring in U.S. presence. It creates a pretext to have soldiers in the Congo in the name of the fight against Islamic fundamentalism and jihadists. As the violence has continued, the people of Congo have also staged massive protests in 2022, which also saw expressions of a strong anti-U.S. sentiment, including in the form of protesters carrying the Russian flag. The Congolese have seen that Rwanda has continued to receive support from the U.S. even as it is continuing to kill and support rebel groups in the DRC. Musevuli added, after 2 decades of war, the Congolese people are saying enough is enough. This is part 1 of 2 stories on the ongoing crisis in the eastern provinces of DRC. And that concludes part 1. We will be doing part 2 in another video. It'll be the next video, most likely. But I'm going to record it a little later. But thank you for watching. See you guys in the next one. Don't know too much about this story. Just learn from what people's dispatch say, because live news I watch does not cover this. This is the first time I'm hearing of this, like the last story we covered. First time I'm hearing of it. So yeah, thank you for watching, and see you in the next one. Peace. This has been the Socialist Report.